Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, and you're listening to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Today's episode has been sponsored by Serial Box. Serial Box delivers addictive book content in short listen or read installments designed to fit into today's fast-paced mobile lifestyle. Switch between listening and reading with a single click, picking up right where you left off. Learn more at serialbox.com, serialbox.com. I'm here today with Helen Ellis. Helen is a novelist, essayist, and professional poker player. Can't wait to hear about that. Her debut novel, Eating the Cheshire Cat, came out in 2001. Her most recent release was a collection of stories called American Housewife, which was actually spurred by a Twitter post that went viral. Her upcoming essay collection, Southern Lady Code, launches in April 2019. Helen is the host of podcast Southern Lady Code. A champion of the literary magazine One Story, Helen received her MFA from NYU. Raised in Alabama, she lives with her husband in New York City, right near me. So welcome, Helen. Thanks so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books.
My pleasure. I'm intimidated by your microphone.
I know.
It's larger than what I'm used to.
I mean, you know.
There's girth.
Amazon. I could go on and on about the microphones. So I want to start, if you don't mind. I know you have Southern Lady Code coming out. You have this new podcast. There's like so much to talk about. But I wanted to hear from the beginning. You came to New York when you were 22 with, hopes of being a writer. And your career has sort of gone in waves. And it's so interesting. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about the beginning when you landed. And
Your career has gone in waves. In Southern Lady Code for it, you had 15 years of complete failure.
That is not what I meant.
Well, it is what happened.
You took a break.
No, I failed.
You did not.
No, it's fine. It really is fine. I have no problem with the word. I'm not a best, achievement ribbon type of lady. You have to fail. And when you fail and you fail and you fail, when you do have success, at 45 when American Housewife came out, and then again with Southern Lady Code at 48, it is all the more delicious. So I moved here at 22 on my 22nd birthday, and I didn't know a soul. I had $2,000 from working at a summer camp. Through a chain of Alabama mamas, I met another woman, Stephanie, at the clock at Grand Central Station. You're going to meet her there at noon. You're going to find an apartment. And we did. And then 6 months later, her parents came and brought her back to Alabama, and she decided to devote her life to Christ.
Oh, no. Your friend.
Yes, my friend. She came to be a model and is even more cutthroat than the writing world, I'm sure. And then I worked as a temp. I worked in retail. I just paid the rent and slept on an egg mattress, on 74th and York. And decided I wanted to go to grad school. Maybe that would make me write outside of my diaries. I got rejected by every single grad school I applied to. I get in off the wait list at NYU. And when I quit that job at 24, I was working as a secretary at a financial journal. I quit the job because I'd gotten into graduate school. My soon-to-be husband, and that means 6 years later, my soon-to-be husband, who was a journalist, walked into the office, and I had the biggest smile on my face because I just quit. And God bless him, he thought that smile was for him. And he got the nerve to ask me out. And 24 years later, here we are. And I went to grad school where I met Danny Shapiro, who I know you are very close to. And in that class, I met my writing workshop of 24 years, which is my other marriage.
Wow.
Which is the authors Ann Napolitano and Hannah Tinty. And we've been together ever since.
That's amazing.
And so the first book was Eating the Cheshire Cat. It came out in 1999. It went very much according to plan. I wrote a book while I was temping. The book sold for 6 figures. I went on a 16-city tour.
That's amazing.
It did great. And then I wrote another book, and nobody would publish it. And then I wrote another book, and nobody would publish it. And then I wrote a third book, and nobody would publish that. And then I quit writing for like 3 years. And nobody cares. I mean, all that happens is you put on 10 pounds. And still, I had my writing workshop who never told me I wasn't a writer, who still let me, read their work and follow their success and sit on their front rows and hold their purse. And then I started secretly writing through Twitter because for a long, long time, if you met me at a party, what do you do? I was very honest. I said, I'm a housewife because I'd stopped my job at one point to try to write full time. And again, just because you do things in a particular way or the right way doesn't mean you'll be successful. And so I would say, I'm a housewife. And if there was another question, the question was, what do you do all day? And I started this Twitter account, unbeknownst to my writing workshop, unbeknownst to my husband, called What I Do All Day. And after I got 100 followers, I told them, I said to my husband, I have something to tell you. And all color just drained from his face. What is it? I have a secret Twitter account. So please don't ever break news to me in this way again. And same with Ann and Hannah. And that is how I started writing again, because Twitter is the best editor. And I still abide by the practice of if it's not retweeted, it's deleted. And I started from the Twitter account. I realized what I was tweeting about. I was tweeting about what I was doing all day, hosting parties, book clubs, solitude, domestic drama, and stories built out of that. And I started to write short stories, submit them like I used to do back in the day of graduate school to university presses. Where you don't get paid a thing, but lovely 22-year-olds pull you out of the slush and publish you, and it's fantastic. And then at one point I had, a friend, an agent says, how many of these do you have? And I said, I think at the time I had 12. Well, let's see if we can get them published. And I just fell ass backwards into a book deal. And that's that. That's how it happened.
That's amazing. That's like the perfect, doesn't everyone say, like, write what you know?
Yeah, you have to write what you know. Yes, it's true. It's true. I mean, I don't know about murdering my doorman, but I've thought about it.
No, I shouldn't say that. I know. No, I'm thinking about your novels and everything. But okay, in this instance, And then what about...
My packages come a lot earlier now.
I meant the Twitter part, but anyway. What about Southern Lady Code? So American Housewife comes out, then go from there.
Again, just amazing how that went down. And that opened up other doors for me because magazine editors reached out to me and said, would you write about your trips playing poker with your father in Biloxi? Would you write about how to be the best guest at a party? And so this is nonfiction. And I just lied and said, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I can do it. And so I started writing these nonfiction pieces. And you know what, Zippy? It is much easier to tell the truth. It's much, much easier for me. And I wrote this piece that was published in Modern Love called Making a Marriage Magically Tidy about how I became a recovering slob to save my marriage. And Doubleday said, would you write a whole book of these? And again, I just bullshitted my way into it. Yes, of course I can do it. Yes. And 9 months later, it was done.
9 months? That's fast.
That was the fastest I've ever written anything. But again, I didn't have to make anything up.
Yeah.
And I've been around a little while. I have 48 years behind me, and I'm not really embarrassed by anything. So,
yeah,
there you go.
They're like personal essays. It's just like
easy, yes.
And then yes. Not to minimize. I mean, your essays are amazing, and they all like work together in a great way. I was joking when you first got here when our coats are so similar because you have this story.
I'm gonna take yours.
No, yeah.
Mine has a peppermint and a Metro card in mine, but I bet yours does too.
No, mine has nothing. It keeps falling out. I've lost my wallet 3 times out of the same jacket. It's like so slippery. Anyway, the story was called The Other Woman's Burberry Coat, about how you picked up the wrong coat at a coat check, and the one you got was actually a little nicer than yours. You had like all this debate what to do about it. So you decide to keep the coat and write, this is the way I handle a lot of problems, aka rich people problems. I'm lucky to have the life that I have, so my motto is, oh, it's fine. I don't send food back in a restaurant unless there's a finger in it. There's never a finger in it, so I don't send food back. It's fine. So talk to me about this philosophy of yours.
It's true. I grew up in Alabama, and New York City 25 years later is still a very wealthy place to me. I feel very privileged to live here. And, I've seen and experienced real problems, and when, for example, there's not a finger in my food, or, I take the wrong lady's Burberry trench coat, or tile is put up in the bathroom so that you can't keep the toilet lid up when you pee standing up, I just don't make a fuss about it because really, I would rather just accept it than fight over it because really, who cares? Who cares? I have my health. I have a happy marriage. I have 2 pairs of jeans. I mean, really, what do I have to bitch about? Nothing.
This is like the ultimate don't sweat the small stuff.
I don't sweat the small stuff. No.
I'm just going to regurgitate different sayings to encapsulate everything that you're saying. So in such a funny way, I'm just going to reduce it all down. Your best guest essay was also so funny. And you wrote about the best guest at a dinner party. You said the best guest eats what she is given. If an hors d'oeuvre is on a toothpick, she does not sniff it suspiciously like baby laxative cut cocaine. She sucks that toothpick clean, and then she asks for seconds.
Let me tell you, Zibby, you are a lady who throws a party or two. And I met you because you came to a party at my house, and you are the best guest. And may I tell your listeners why?
Yes.
Okay. So there are certain things that people will do at a party where they can ask me almost for anything, maybe a kidney, because they were such a good guest. So I had a fundraiser for One Story Magazine, and it was a game night. And when I say game night, I mean, let's see how quickly you can work this 100-piece unicorn puzzle in 20 minutes, or let's play Family Feud in my bedroom. And all the while, let's have a dare bag where you can get a lot of points if, for example, you put on my bathrobe and strut through the apartment, or you speak throughout charades without giving it away. Well, the most points that anybody could get, you did the dare. So the dare was change outfits with another person. And I look up, and there you are in my friend's jeans dress, and she's in your dress. And what can I say? That is the best guest. That is what you call a good sport. You are a good sport, madam.
I could not believe it. I walked in there and everyone was doing all these crazy things. And I was like, I don't even know what planet have I landed on. I'm like, but, the competitive instinct takes over. And I had brought my good friend Lauren Costello, and she's like, oh, we're going to win this.
Oh, yes.
If we're here, we're doing it.
Oh, yes. You were on, am I right? You were on A.M. Holmes' team?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So again, A.M. Holmes was a professor of mine in graduate school. And as I say on Southern Lady Code, the podcast, she has a presence, which translates to she scares the shit out of me because she's so accomplished. And I've known the woman for 20-something years, but she'll always be my teacher. Like Danny Shapiro will always be my teacher. And I will always feel 24 years old, which is, I should think that's a good thing. It's better than Botox. So again, there is A.M. Holmes in my apartment with you, your friend. Is it Lauren? Am I right?
Yep.
Who I'm a little bit in love with.
She's amazing.
And Jean, congoing through my apartment. And A.M. Holmes's arms are wrapped in toilet paper caps.
Yes, that was true. That was true too.
And I'm like, these ladies are going to take it down. The yellow team.
Oh my gosh. That was so funny.
Down. At one point, the very last challenge was you had to make the best Scrabble word because I had hidden Scrabble tiles all over the house, which was also, another game, like a Scrabble hunt. And after everybody had left, I had discovered people had gone through my panty drawer.
Oh, no.
People had emptied out the piggy banks. And that is just, again, that's a good guest. That's a good sport.
I think that's a good hostess. I mean, that was a killer part. I mean, that was like unlike any event I've ever been to.
And no phones allowed.
Oh, I know.
Yes, you lost a lot of points if I saw a phone. And we did see phones and people lost points.
Yeah, that was tough. I was like, all these calls, the kids are like,
oh, no. 2 hours, you're all mine.
I know. That was, but yes, I did. When I asked you a second ago, where you recorded your podcast, I thought you were going to say, like on 57th Street or something. And Helen just started to talk about, I was in her bathroom, and I have now been undressed in her bathroom.
Yes.
It's just so random.
Yes. Which, if you're going to Instagram a picture, that would be the picture to Instagram. But
not to mention the outfit I changed into ended up looking so much better than the one I had showed
fantastic.
up in.
Both of you
and I
fantastic.
saw what she looked like in my clothes, and I was like, oh my God, I'm never wearing that again. It looks terrible.
Well, so if you ask where I do the podcast, so again, I'm at this point in my life where for the most part, if I'm given an opportunity, I'll say yes for the most part. And people at Penguin and Doubleday said, oh, would you do a podcast, a mini podcast based on Southern Lady Code? And I'm a huge podcast listener. I said, yes, absolutely. So where do I record it? Oh, just go into your closet or bathroom. So for the first 8 episodes, I sat my ass on the floor of my bathroom, borrowing my cat's pillow with the microphone on the toilet lid and just, I think we said regurgitate, you said regurgitated earlier. And I felt like I was regurgitating, in college into the toilet. And since then, because Liberty Hardy, who does Book Riot, showed a picture of where she does her podcast, which is at her desk, which is where we're sitting in your home. And I thought, well, this is much more ladylike. I'm going to sit at my desk. And so now I do it at my desk.
So then Lady Code says, get off the bathroom floor.
Exactly. Just because, I am very comfortable being barefoot, in the kitchen. Doesn't mean I need to be barefoot when I do my podcast.
Yeah. What are some of the podcasts, not to put you on the spot, what do you like to listen to?
So I'll tell you other little mini podcasts because my podcast is 6 to 8 minutes. And so I like that format from time to time. There's a great one called The Way I Heard It by Mike Rowe, where he just tells old Hollywood stories and with a twist. There's a fabulous new podcast called 10 Things That Scare Me.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it the best? I want to be on it. I got to send them a list.
I tried.
Did you really?
Yeah,
Tell
because
me.
I went to this women's podcasting event.
Oh,
you should go when
yes.
it comes back. It's called Work It, WERK.
Love it.
Work It.
Yes.
Anyway, and they were about to launch that show, and
Yes.
they said, if anybody wants to try, write down your list and come record it with the producers.
Oh, God, I should.
So I was the first one. I was like, let me try.
What did you say that
I don't know. I didn't. I should have thought about it.
So what's the weirdest thing you're afraid of?
It wasn't weird enough. It was I don't know, death or something totally
My kid's
regular.
dying.
Yes, it was
It's got to be weird.
I know, it was not weird. I'm not weird enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My biggest fear right now is that my neck will eventually look like, when you have a leak at the top of the ceiling and you have a massive water bubble hanging down of paint.
I have one in the bathroom. We can go look
we can take a picture. We can compare my neck. And there's another one called Cabinet of Curiosities, where the guy who does lore, it's his new podcast. But then I love a true crime podcast. Mm-hmm. I love a good interview show. I love a storytelling podcast. Risk is fantastic, which is kind of kinky or bizarre with Kevin Allison. And then my sister has a podcast, which you would love. It's called One Bad Mother. Oh. And it's her and Teresa Thorne, who is Jesse Thorne of Maximum Fun's wife. And it's been going for, I would say, 6 or 7 years. And they both have kids, and it's just about, raising your kids. And it's very honest, which means crass.
All right, I will.
You should check it out.
I will for sure check it out. Tell me about poker. You're a professional poker player?
I'm a respected amateur.
Respected amateur. Okay, respected amateur. And you were Colson Whitehead's coach?
I was.
Okay, tell me this.
Which again, I did. I think that I coached him because he was going to go play the World Series and write about it for Grantland. And I think that was 2011, 2012. And so he had no idea I was a writer. I was just a 40-something-year-old poker-playing housewife. And not just, I was a 40-something-year-old poker-playing housewife. I mean, what else would you want to be? A lady of leisure. And I thought at the time, when I read his draft of it, I thought, if this is the way I go down in history, which was a pretty badass portrait of myself, I would be very happy with that. It was like seeing, a famous artist paint your portrait. And I didn't change a word of it. And I remember being at a one-story event, and I think it was 2012, where I was introduced to Nan Graham, who was my Scribner editor the head of Scribner when I published there in 1999. Someone introduced me to her as Colson Whitehead's poker coach. And she did, thank God, remember me. But it had been over 10 years since I'd published. But that is what I was being introduced as. And that at the time was perfectly fine. But I will tell you that seeing myself portrayed in sort of a badass way made me more courageous. And I thought, if I can walk into a room with thousands of men and think I'll be the last one standing, I can write a little story.
Oh, totally.
And so I did. And I do thank him in American Housewife for reminding me that I'm brave.
Totally. Oh, my God.
Yeah. But I started playing poker when I was 6. My father's a poker player. His father was a poker player. And the only downside of I returned to a publishing life is that I don't play as much. I haven't played since November, Sydney. I'm in complete withdrawal.
I think you need to have a poker night.
I do give ladies lessons.
Oh, okay.
So
ladies lessons.
I give ladies lessons because women make up 4% of the poker field. And I give ladies lessons. I will come to your house I will charge. And I will teach 6 to 10 of your friends how to walk into a casino and play, Hold'em, stud, whatever you want to play. And I also teach 10-year-old boys as long as their mothers are involved.
Really?
Yes, I do.
I have an 11-year-old boy.
Perfect.
Okay.
It's good. And, again, it's like kids and women, they need to know how to play.
That's awesome. I will be figuring out when to have that event.
So I'm already planning for June, because June is the World Series in Vegas, and my tour will be over by then.
Wow.
So I'll be off to Vegas for a week or two to play.
Oh, my gosh.
I can't wait if I can
So
remember
exciting.
how.
So you mentioned earlier when we were just talking, like your philosophy on life, sort of nothing's too big a deal because of the stuff that's gone on before. Is there anything you'd be willing to share? Like, no, not so much. Okay. Well, thought I'd check.
I can say this, when I first started dating my husband, there was a lot of death in his family. There was the fast death of his 29-year-old brother to a brain aneurysm. Oh. And there was a very lengthy death of his grandmother to what happens when you get old and they keep you alive.
Right.
And so it was years of being the only caretakers in a very stressed, sad time. And both of us, it's just never been as hard as that. So, yeah, I'm not going to be upset over much of anything. Again, it's just never has been as hard as that. And I hope it won't be as hard as that because I am, older and, a little braver than I was in my 20s.
You need to wear a shirt that says like #brave. That is like you are. That is like
it's not so brave. So brave. I'm not a hotshot, firefighter in Montana. But but
Alabama woman in New York. I mean, just getting through this is pretty brave. That's pretty awesome. So next for you have Southern Lady Code. You're going to do the tour. Are you writing anymore, or?
I'm working on the podcast, which is I'm writing because it's like I sort of compare it to what David Sedaris used to do on NPR or what you see Jim Gaffigan do on CBS this morning, all of tumors are compared to fruit, just like little funny, poignant pieces that last 3 or 4 minutes. So it's, again, nonfiction, and it's getting that muscle going, and I like doing it. And, but I have no idea what I'm writing next to put in a book.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And that's more, cool. Again, I'm just not concerned at all.
Yeah. Just getting the content out there.
Yeah.
And do you have any advice to aspiring writers?
I didn't know what you were going to ask me.
Aspiring poker players?
Yes, I have advice for both.
Southern Code ladies?
I have advice to writers. My advice is 2 things. One is find yourself 1 or 2 friends to read your work. If they're writers, that's fantastic. If not, that's still okay. When I write something new, Anne and Hannah are the first to read it. My husband reads it. My sister reads it. And my friend Martin reads it. And that's that.
Do they change it? Like, do you allow them to edit it?
Well, Anne and Hannah, and my husband is a editor at CBS, and he's completely outside my market because I don't fool myself. I do not write for straight men. I write for women, and I write for gay men. So if I can keep him interested, then I've really set the bar. But both Anne and Hannah definitely give me critiques. And my friend Martin Wilson is a writer, and he does. And my sister is just a rampant reader and stand-up comedian. So it's a good mix. And my other advice is work the crossword puzzle every day. And work it in pencil, for heaven's sake. Work it in pencil to start, because when you work it in pencil, you're more willing to make a mistake. I mean, yes, there's the whole bit about vocabulary. You increase your vocabulary. But for me, it's the daily process of getting my mind working and making a mistake. And as soon as you know you've made the right word choice, you put it in pen. So those are my 2 bits of advice.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming.
And don't forget to giggle.
Yeah, that's the best. You have the best laugh. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And, it's a pleasure.
Can't wait to hear more of your podcast and see what's next. Take care. Today's episode was sponsored by Cereal Box, SCRIALBOX.com, cerealbox.com, delivering addictive book content in short listen or read installments. Thanks to Ryan and Steve at Texture Sound for the audio editing and mixing. Thanks for listening to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books.